Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
Welcome back to America's Heroes Group. In this section, we have a roundtable with a partner at the Chicago Regional Office of Veterans Benefits Association Administration. July is American Diabetes and National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. Today is Saturday, July 9th, 2022. Our host was Kelley. I'm the co-host, Sean Claiborne. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith, and our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Arnold Productions. And don't forget to go on Facebook and also YouTube to look at our old shows and all our archive shows and leave comments of things that you like to see and like to hear. We're not live streaming today, but you can see all of our archive shows, or almost all of our archive shows, on YouTube or Facebook. So go there. You can also go to americashg.org. That's americashg.org, and see our program and see what we're all about. And leave comments there. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know how you feel. Give us some feedback of what you want to see and what you want to hear. We have our panelist on the line of Adam Swantz. He's a Veteran Service Center Manager of Chicago Regional Office, and Donnis Overton. She's a Legal Administrative Specialist in the Chicago Regional Office. And we're going to talk about military environmental exposure, particularly burn pits, and legislations and updates, and how the Veterans Benefits Administration is handling claims and requirements to file a claim. So that's something really important that's been in the media a lot lately. And we're trying to get on top of this to find out what we can do to help veterans get more medical attention with something that is very, very toxic and something very dangerous, and many of us were exposed to. So let's talk about this. Adam, Donnis, how are you guys doing?
Awesome. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Well, good.
So where are we at right now with the discussion on veterans getting help? Because I know there's a registry out there, and I've also heard on social media and things like that the registry is not as responsive or not as easy to navigate as it could be. Tell us a little bit more about that, and then also what are people doing to really get ahead of this problem? Because this is something, I mean, I've been looking at this stuff and reading about it, and I'm concerned because people are talking about constrictive bronchitis or bronchiolitis, or that means the registry is not easy to use. People are having lung cancer. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff's going on.
Absolutely. Great question. And very, very relevant to so many of our listeners. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the questions you just posed, and then talk about the PACT Act and what that is, and what that's going to do as far as creating additional eligibilities for benefits and healthcare. And then Donnis is here as well to talk about sort of, how we go about filing a claim, what's the claims process, what are important things to remember, throughout the claims process. So give me a few minutes here. So the PACT Act is a huge piece of legislation. For anyone that's listening and that's never heard that term, PACT is an acronym, PACT, and what it stands for is the Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxins. And you just talked about it, burn pits is what most people think of in the Middle East, and waste disposal and things of that nature. And what people should know is the PACT Act it's pending approval by the House and the Senate. So it was actually approved by the Senate. I believe it was on June 16th. It went to the House for approval, and there was some sort of administrative issue that needed to be corrected. So it went back to the Senate, but it is looking like it has bipartisan support to pass. And I believe the goal is to get it to the president by the end of the month for his signature, and then it would go into effect. So what is the PACT Act going to do? That was the lawmaking piece of it. The PACT Act, I'm gonna read a little bit of this so I don't say anything wrong. The bill is named after Sergeant First Class Keith Robinson, who deployed to Kosovo and Iraq with the Ohio National Guard, and he died from toxic exposure-related illnesses in 2020. So the PACT Act will expand healthcare and benefits to as many as 3.5 million toxic exposed veterans. There's also a lot in there that will sort of streamline the process that the VA goes through to identify future presumptive conditions. There are the PACT Act itself covers 23 burn pit related conditions, and you just mentioned one of them that's in there. Bronchiolitis is one of them that's on the list. 23 burn pit conditions, and also hypertension related to Agent Orange exposure. So most of it is post 9/11 combat veterans from the Middle East, but it does also include hypertension for Agent Orange, which would be huge. However, I'm caveating all this with it hasn't actually passed yet. We think we know what's in it, and we think we know what it's gonna look like, but until that goes to the president's desk, we can't definitively answer some of the questions. So for us at VBA, that means potentially a huge influx in claims related to the presumptives that would be included in the act. And that's why we have folks like Donnis, who's on the line, that will help people with filing for their benefits. We're hiring about 2,000 additional claims processors right now. We also have a potential for another hiring surge next year to deal with not only all the claims that are still already pending, but the influx in claims that we anticipate getting with the passing of this legislation, and making sure that we can keep up with providing timely decisions to veterans, whether they're newly eligible for benefits or they've already been waiting for a claim that they filed. So that's pretty much it right now. Donnis, you may be able to speak more to the burn pit registry. I know there's a link to it on our website. I'm not that familiar with the burn pit registry. I know, but of course, when the act passes, there will be comprehensive communication going out about how to file for benefits. And of course, anybody can work with either us at the regional office, work with Donnis or one of her peers, or work with a VSO, a veteran service officer as well, to help them in filing a claim. So any questions or anything else that I missed about anything that I just shared?
So Donnis, what can you tell us about the PACT Act, and does this cover pretty much any type of toxic chemical that you could be exposed to? Because there's many ways the military could be exposed to a chemical. It could be something in the air. Jet fuel is highly toxic. There's all kinds of things that you can be exposed to, things you might be touching, things you might put on your skin. I mean, so what does this PACT actually cover? And then also go into the registry process.
Okay. So to my understanding, this is actually pretty new to me as well. Again, like Adam indicated, the presumptive list will be available on the website, va.gov. Veterans can go to that website and then they can literally type in the search bar presumptive from their area. So, for instance, if you were a Vietnam veteran that served boots on the ground in Vietnam, you can type in Vietnam presumptive, Vietnam veteran presumptive, and then once the act is enacted, those additional disabilities or injuries or illnesses will be added to that list. Same thing will go for veterans. The list will be updated via va.gov. The burn pit registry is a registry that veterans can sign up for. To my understanding, and from when I went and did my exam, what they told me is that the burn pit registry is used for veterans. It's a collection tool. So they take the injuries and illnesses of the veterans during that period, or who was exposed to burn pits when they were deployed, and then they use it to make a comparison and say, okay, a majority of these veterans are complaining of these illnesses, and they are all of them are collectively were exposed to burn pits. So it is presumed that since they were in this area and that exposure, that it's presumed that they are suffering from the conditions based on the fact that they were exposed to burn pits. Then they said that once that list is compiled, then some of those conditions could be, potentially added to the presumptive list, and also enacted during the PACT Act. So basically, it's important for people, if they're experiencing or if they were exposed to burn pits, no matter actually what era you served in, Vietnam, Camp Lejeune, Gulf War, if there's a registry for you to take place in, which there is, to go ahead and get that examination done so that these illnesses could be added to the presumptive list.
So this is the thing that a lot of veterans have a problem with, is the fact that you have to register in order to get recognized. So, I mean, do you see a day when veterans can just go into the VA because they have a condition and just get treated? Why is it that there has to be some kind of validation of your illness before you get treated?
Well, the thing is that it's not that the burn pit registry is volunteer. They don't have to do it to be recognized. If they are experiencing an illness and they're saying that it is due to burn pits, they should definitely get a doctor's medical opinion about that. We're just talking about what the VA is recognizing at the moment. But if any veteran is experiencing any type of condition where they feel that it was due to their military service or due to their exposure to burn pits or whatever the case, they are more than welcome to file a claim for that, and it will be adjudicated properly, provided that the veteran has the correct medical evidence to support their contention, and also provided that they can get the doctors to support their contentions as well.
And then also you have a lot of National Guard and reservists, for example, too, that haven't been deployed for 6 months. So if you don't get deployed for 6 months, typically you don't get access to the VA system. You can't use the VA system for health care. You can get access to other benefits, but that's the thing that you just don't get automatically, even if you have a VA card. I fall into that category because I wasn't deployed. Now, for those people that may have been exposed to some kind of toxic chemical on the base, like, for example, we talked about Camp Lejeune, talked about other military facilities where they had problems with the water, where they had Legionnaire's disease, things like that. How do those veterans get treated? Is the registry their primary tool to get on the board, or what's their process for them?
Well, from my personal experience, before I got deployed, I was able to use the VA system. I don't know where the presumption is that the National Guard and reservists can't use the VA system. I was in the reserves for 4 years before I was deployed, and I was hurt while I was on my reserve status, but I wasn't turned down from using the VA because I was a reservist. Basically, what happens, the difference is when you go to the VA and you present your DD-2, in our case, your orders, what happens is the VA will say, okay, you could still be seen here. We're still going to treat you because you are a veteran. However, if there's any co-pays, which are normally between, $20, $10, and in some cases even $5, from what I've seen, you will have to pay that. Okay. Versus someone who was on active duty, who went overseas, who is service connected, when they register and they go to the VA and they go to sign up for their card and everything, they just don't have to pay, out-of-pocket expenses.
And these are for veterans also, so people that have been discharged from the military who were reserve or National Guard, who didn't have 6 months of active duty service or that beat that criteria, they can still use the VA system, but they just might have to pay out of pocket for some of their services.
Yes.
Right? Okay. All right. So you were saying you're going to hire about 2,000 more caseworkers to get on top of the registry list. How many people do you have that number are in the registry currently? I think it's some number around 1 million people or something like that. That's what I thought I heard, but I'm not even sure if that's accurate.
That are in the burn pit registry. I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I did want to just comment on that what Donnis provided a lot of great information there. So thanks for that, Donnis. The burn pit registry I think is really valuable in collecting the data because we have 23 new presumptives and there's been additional presumptives added in the past. So this isn't, certainly an exhaustive list, but part of what the PACT Act is doing is making sure that as we continue to collect more data and more folks are registered, more conditions are identified, that we sort of expedite the consideration of those being added as presumptives, because like Donnis said, well, if you have a condition or some sort of illness that's not a presumptive, you can still file a claim for that, but you would just need to present medical evidence as the nexus linking that condition to your service. Whereas with the presumptives, they're, as it implies, presumed that if you served in a certain area, that you were exposed to causal factors in your illness. So I think the more data that we have, the better. And I don't know that the burn pit registry, that's not a way to necessarily expedite your claim, but it is a way to provide more data for VA to be more well informed on changes to make going forward. As far as the hiring, we've already hired, I don't know what the exact number is, but we've been hiring. We've hired in Chicago probably about 70 people since January 1st, just this year. And we're bringing on about 2,100 nationally, with, as of right now, about another 800 next year. So that will, give us a lot more firepower in deciding these claims that are coming in, because everybody knows the term backlog, and we have about 600,000 claims already pending, which means veterans are waiting for decisions on those claims. So we're expecting to get a lot more once this legislation passes. So we want to make sure, like I said earlier, that we're continuing to serve those already waiting, and then also get to these new ones coming in. And I think the other just really important and I think exciting thing to note is we're dipping our toe in the water of automation for the first time when it comes to rating decisions. And if we can, take the human element out of some of it and still provide accurate rating determinations, which at this time are still all being reviewed. And it's still it's a very small fraction of our workload right now that we're looking at automating, but leveraging technology and doing some automation that if someone files a claim, the medical evidence is there and it's a less complex claim, and we can just turn it around in a day rather than having it sit behind thousands and thousands of other claims. We're looking at doing that as well. So hopefully that helps provide quicker decisions too.
So you said there's about 600,000 claims outstanding right now?
Currently there's just under 600,000 claims, and that's a lot of that is still playing catch up from COVID and exams being shut down, and that really sort of put us behind the 8 ball as far as where inventory is and where the backlog is, which the backlog is anything pending more than 125 days. But yeah, about 600,000 overall. So lots of work in the tube, but we're getting a lot of great people hired and trained, and we should be able to work this down.
And I looked on the VA website. It looks like there's about 200,000, just under 200,000, that is registered on the registry right now for burn pits. Now, for the time frame, what can a veteran expect when they file their claim? What's the turnaround time before they actually start getting treatment, typically?
Well, right now, I want to say from filing to completion right now, and I'm going to caveat this with when this act passes. Now, we do have some specialized processing sites, and some are working Agent Orange claims, some are working Blue Water Navy claims. I'm anticipating potentially some being focused on the new presumptive claims, so it could vary. Right now, on average, I believe our claims are being decided in about 150 days. So that's when you would get your determination of eligibility, which would then enable you to other ancillary benefits like healthcare and but that's a generalization. Okay, so that's not necessarily a definitive number. There's claims that go faster than that, and there's claims that go, take longer than that. So, but right now, for the year, we're at 140 days.
So give us the information. Where do veterans go to file a claim, and then also where do they go for the registry? Once again.
All right, I'll give that one to Donnis. That's in her wheelhouse.
Thank you, Adam. So there are a couple of ways that veterans can file claims. One way, they can create an account on va.gov, and they can file their claims and upload their documents via that way. Another way that they can file claims is they also can call the Veterans Hotline, which is 1-800-827-1000, and they can get assistance with filing their claims through the National Contact Center. Another way that they could file claims is they can come on down to 2122 West Taylor Street and talk to me and my coworkers, and we can assist them with filing claims as well that way.
And I think it's important you mentioned that the registry is not necessarily needed in order to file a claim. So you can file a claim first without going through the registry. Did I hear that right?
That is correct. You do not have to. You do not have to register with the burn pit registry in order to file a claim. Okay. That is totally voluntary.
So if people are having difficulty with the registry, which I've seen a lot on social media, I have never looked at it myself, but I've seen a lot of people talking about difficulty with the registry, and then and now you're hearing about the backlog and things like that along those lines. I think it's important that people at least start the claim process. If you're having any kind of symptoms or any kind of ailments that you're not sure of what's going on, particularly in your breathing, that's something very serious. You got to definitely go in there and start your claim process and use some of the VSOs that you guys mentioned before. The VSOs of Veteran Service Organizations can be very, very helpful. Now, when you use a Veteran Service Organization, just from your experience, how much easier, how much does it expedite that process of getting all your correct paperwork in and getting through the claim filing process? That's for Donnis.
Well, Mr. Kelley, being a former VSO myself, the reason that it is it can be a lot easier is because VSOs can spend a lot more in-depth time with the veterans. They can, sit there with them, go through their medical records with them, give them guidance and direction on the things that they need as far as doctor's medical opinions, what the VA is looking for from the opinion letters. They can tell the veterans what they complained about while they were in service, because a lot of times, Vietnam veterans have been out of, they haven't been in Vietnam for over 50 years, so they don't remember. A lot of people don't know that any injury that you sustain while on active duty, to include basic training and the AIT, the specialized training, if you were injured even during those periods, this is also to include National Guard and Reservists that you could file claims for those injuries. So VSOs are essential in being able to really take that in-depth time with the veteran to sit there and go through everything with them. As far as the legal aid, the legal administration specialist, we are there we can give them some quick guidance, but we don't have the time to, sit and go through each medical record and tell them what they, may or may not file for. We are there to give them, guidance on pushing, telling them, hey, you can, visit your local VSO. We can also file their claims for them and give them a little bit of education. But for the most part, VSOs can do a little bit more on their end as far as really getting the veteran to understand what goes into filing a claim and telling them what they're missing, telling them what they have, and, helping them that way. Another thing that is really, really important, a lot of veterans may not know that I have noticed that they don't know, and I would like to put it out here. If you are a veteran and you would like to file a claim, but you do not know whether or not you want to file a claim right now, you can always give us a call. You can always make an appointment via va.gov, go to find a VA location and scroll, type in your location, and you can make an appointment via the Vera app. What that does, you can make a virtual appointment, which means one of us at the regional office will give you a call, or you can make an in-person appointment, which you can come in and we can assist you with filing your claim. Once you do that, we can do what is called an intent to file. What an intent to file is, it acts as a date of claim. So, for instance, if a veteran files an intent to file, say today, 140 days later, the VA make a decision and say, we're going to grant you 100%. What happens is the VA will retroactively pay the veteran all the way back to today's date. So basically, the veteran doing the intent to file today, I'm sorry, I missed a step. The veteran files his claim, say 6 months later. And then the VA make a decision, 100 days later or however long, and they make a decision and they grant the veteran. They will retroactively pay that veteran at that percentage back all the way back to the day they filed that intent to file. So the intent to file acts as a data claim, and it gives the veteran 1 year to gather medical evidence, to gather medical opinions, to gather any outside medical records, anything like that they need to substantiate their claim.
So the VERA app, it's called the VERA app. Is that VERA? How do you spell that?
Yes, VERA.
Okay, so you can use that to do an intent to file, and then
They can use that to call us. They can to make an appointment. I'm sorry. They can make an appointment, a virtual appointment via the VERA app, which means we at the regional office will give them a call, or they can make an in-person appointment, and that will set up the appointment for them to come down to the regional office and talk to us directly. If they do a virtual appointment with us, we can actually do that intent to file over the phone. We could assist them with filing claims over the phone and things of that nature.
all right, and that can help you get on disability or get registered or get rated for disability. So Donnis Overton, I
Yes.
appreciate your time. She's a legal administrative specialist in Chicago Regional Office, and Adam Swantz, he's a Veteran Service Center manager in Chicago Regional Office. We got a lot of good information out there. I want to encourage veterans to go and register on the registry. Even if it's difficult, if you have difficulty with it, keep in mind you don't have to do that in order to file a claim. Start to file a claim, download the VERA app, and get the process started. Get your path to treatment and health care on the road. This is Sean Claiborne, America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back.